My name is Cassandra Hope, and I'm the founder of Be Well with Hope. And I am here interviewing Chantel Chapman from The Trauma of Money. Welcome, Chantel.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here today.
I'm so excited to have you. I swear, I remember the first time I came across your brand, and my jaw literally hit the ground because as a trauma victim, I have had this intuitive kind of hunch that my spending habits and my inability to let money support me over the years had a deeper root. It wasn't just that I was like incapable or broken or not able to get it together. I was like, I know there's something more here than just poor spending habits. And when I saw you, and is it Hiroko, your business partner?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hiroko. We
When I
call her Hero.
Hero. I love it. What a great name.
Yeah.
When Hero and
It's
you,
appropriate for her. You'll see.
right? I get that feeling. I saw her
Mhm.
speak and I was like, man, this woman is like powerful.
Yeah, she's very powerful.
And you guys together, like watching you speak, I saw you guys being interviewed and I was like, these women are changing the world. This program is changing the world. Everybody has to know about this who's ever dealt with, trauma or any shame around, spending habits or money. So I am like beyond elated to jump into this conversation with you and unpack how
Oh,
did
thanks.
you come up with this? Who are you? What are you doing? What's going on?
Yeah, so I guess this work in our Trauma of Money program, we talk a lot about the importance of connecting to meaning in our lives. And there's these two doctors in the US, Dr. Brad and Dr. Ted Klons, and we're going to talk about them in the Trauma of Money Method program. And they came up with the list of like the common most financial disorders. And they have a research lab. They do a ton of research. And they did some research that resulted in this. And what they found was that they took two different groups. They found one group that they worked with them on just financial literacy. And the goal was to increase their savings. And then they had another group where they worked with them on connecting to meaning in their lives and really creating a vision for their life. And out of these two groups, the group that performed better with accumulating more savings was the group that worked on their vision of their lives and connecting to meaning. So I'm sharing this example right now because we often feel like when in our relationship and dealings with money, we put so much emphasis on financial literacy. But it's truly connecting to the vision that you want to create for your lives and meaning. And we talk so much about that in the program that will make a difference. And for me, this work is my meaningful work that I do in my life. Everything that I've experienced in my life and my career has really brought me to this place. So who am I and what's my background? Well, I grew up in poverty with a single mother. I had some really interesting and traumatic experiences with a stepfather type figure who was addicted to heroin and stealing money and in and out. And I started developing a narrative when I was very young that money equals safety. Mm-hmm. Money equals like clean. Not having money is like dirty, poor, those type of things. And so these narratives kind of went with me my whole career. And they resulted in certain behaviors. Like one behavior was when I was in high school, I didn't really focus on my schooling. I was like, work. I have to make money. Mm-hmm. So that was my focus in high school. And then when I graduated, I'm like, what career can I have where I can make money right away? And so I became a mortgage broker at 21 years old. So I threw myself into the finance world, and becoming a 21-year-old mortgage broker is not advisable. Because you're 21 years old and you're trying to help people with the biggest purchase of their lives, and a lot of people don't trust you. So I just felt so inadequate in that role. And I basically went on this journey of trying to learn everything I could about finance. So I was the smartest person in the room when it came to finance. And that actually served me really well, because what ended up happening is the clients that would come to me were coming to me because they were declined everywhere else and I was their last resort. So I had the privilege of working with people in pretty severe financial distress. And they weren't in a position to get a mortgage, but because I had developed some codependency behaviors from my childhood, I had to help them. I had to save them. So I took all my financial literacy knowledge and I helped them put together plans on like how they can get on a path to buy a home and the things that they can do. And this really altered my career, where I opened a financial literacy business. And I thought, I felt this deep sense of injustice. Like maybe if we knew financial literacy, my life would have been different. So I set out to teach financial literacy to high school students. And my thought was, if they only taught this in high school, things would be better. And many people believe that right now. Many people believe that giving people, marginalized people, access to financial literacy will change their path. And I don't believe that. I did the work and I don't believe it, because I really believe, after many years working in the financial literacy space and I knew everything there was to know about money, but I still had credit card debt. Why is that? So a few things happened in my life where I was actually diagnosed with PTSD, but later on it was PTSD, and I had gone down a path of pretty deep trauma healing. And at the same time, it ignited this, I guess, this just like curiosity in me about trauma healing and financial literacy. And I wanted to understand, maybe just like you said, like I know some of my behaviors are not because of the financial literacy, the knowledge or the lack of knowledge, but because there's something deeper. And I had that same curiosity. So I basically set out on a 4-year journey of researching addiction and trauma and mindfulness and all these different type of modalities, quantum physics, philosophy, all of this, and said, you know what, I want to teach financial literacy at a deeper level. Like there's step 0 that we're missing. And this step 0 is the most important part, the foundation of this. So I had gone to a 200-hour meditation teacher training. And this meditation teacher training is the only certified meditation teacher training in Canada. And it happens to be run by Hiroko. And so this is where Hiroko comes into my life. I meet her and I'm her student and I am in awe. Like, this woman is, like you said, powerful. She's an incredible teacher. She knows so much, yet she teaches with her own nervous system. So you'll notice in the program, I'm very much like sharing knowledge. Like, I'm telling you all the science, I'm doing all this stuff. And then we flip over to Hiroko and she's like, let's just take a breath.
Right.
Yeah, she's a very powerful nervous system teacher. So we complement each other really well. And so I had this amazing experience as her student. And we formed a relationship after that, where we started working together on like some of the trauma healing aspect of things. And then we decided that we need to bridge the gap between the two of us. Because what was happening with me is I would have people come to me and say, I have a credit counselor because I have extreme amounts of debts, and I have a therapist, and neither of them are hearing me. Because this is what's happening. I go to my credit counselor and I'm like, I cannot stick to the budget you gave me. And they're like, and I say, well, what's the response? And they say, just come on, just stick to the budget. Just stick to it. You know, I made this budget for you. All you have to do is stick to it. They don't realize that all you have to do is triggering some pretty serious anxiety in that person. And then I said, well, what does your therapist say? And your therapist is like, and the therapist is like, well, I'm not a financial teacher. I kind of stay away from the finance topics. I can't advise you there. So let's go back to this. And I'm noticing a lot of my clients are in this situation and they're not feeling heard because the gap has not been there. There's no bridge between the gap of these two professional worlds. And we notice that a lot of people who work as healers, they often, even that desire to be a healer and to help is most likely coming from a place of that's similar to a place where you might undercharge. So I started noticing like all these connections between these healers undercharging, the healers avoiding talking about money, people going to them for money stress, but not getting what they wanted. So I went to Hiroko. I'm like, we need to do something. Let's bridge the gap between my knowledge and your knowledge. And let's create a method. So we created this method. I was using it in my What the Finances coaching, which is my other business. And then what was happening is I had so many people coming to me saying, I want to learn this method. I want to know how to do this. And that's why we decided to create the Trauma of Money Method, the certification program, which is amazing. We're in our second cohort and the feedback, it's so well received, and it's just exciting. It's like, this is the work that's meaningful. This is the work that's really making a difference, because I know that you know this in your work that you do. You can give someone a diet, and if you just give a diet on a piece of paper, they're not going to stick to it. There's behavioral issues that are going on. There's maybe some other stuff deeper that needs attention that we have to actually work through. Otherwise, it's just going to be like, I'll be good at it for 2 days and then I'll fall off the wagon.
100%. Everything you're saying, I'm like, yes, because it's getting to the root of the dysfunction of our relationship with money. And, I've been studying Mastin Kipp a lot lately.
Yeah, he's great.
He's so great. And I was talking to his business partner about a year ago, and we were on the phone talking about possibly doing a course. And she said something that stuck out to me so strongly, that money is an energy to support you, just like anything else. So if you have a lack of trust in relationship, let's say intimate relationship, a lot of people who have been traumatized, it's really scary to be vulnerable and in an intimate, loving relationship. So we sabotage or we avoid or whatever the case might be. And she was saying, the same thing happens with money, because if we don't trust that something is there to support us, it can be wildly triggering. So, you make this money and it's like, oh, let me just get rid of it before I don't know what to do if it starts to accumulate in my bank account. I remember bartending. I bartended all through my 20s here in Toronto. By the way, guys, Chantel is in Vancouver. Just wanted to make a note of that. But yeah, so I was making tons of money, hand over fist. I was like 21 years old, putting all this cash in the bank. And I had no real reason to have it saved up and no real goal with it. So once it reached, I think it was like $15,000. It was the most money I'd ever saved in my life. And I was so afraid of having the responsibility of buying a condo or having to, I had no idea how to deal with any of that. So I blew it all. I went on vacation. I bought a $1,500 dog. I just did all of these things to spend. And it felt safer for me. Tell me that isn't, not literally asking you this question, but tell me that isn't rooted in trauma, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it depends where the narrative is coming from. So, there's this concept called our financial comfort zone. So how we grow up around money, we often will keep ourselves there. So, if you can just look at the stats of professional, like NFL players or
Mhm.
like NFL players. I think the stat is like 80% of NFL players will go bankrupt or have some serious financial distress 5 years after they've retired.
Yeah.
This kind of proves the concept of the financial comfort zone. So we grow up in a certain way with money, we make a lot of money, and we essentially sabotage having the money because it's not aligned with our financial comfort zone. No different than if I grew up with an alcoholic father where there was a lot of chaos. I may subconsciously seek out relationships that are, you know, chaotic, because that's my comfort zone, is chaos,
Right.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Wow. So, one thing that I was really wanting to chat with you about is the nervous system. So, when people are in a state of, let's say, depression, and they're wanting to kind of upregulate, they want to be happy, they want to get out of that stuck phase, and they go to buying something, whether it be online or go shopping. And I'm sure a lot of people who are watching today can identify with this, but there have been countless times where I have been in a bummer mood because I'm not even aware of what the root cause is. Maybe something didn't work out with a relationship or whatever the case is. And I'm like, I'm going to go shopping. And even if that's my rent money, I'd be like, I'll figure it out later, but I need that dress, So that risk behavior, that high risk behavior of spending and not protecting ourselves, how do you address that in your coaching? How is that a way that you help people to understand what's happening?
Well, so the doctors that I mentioned in the beginning, Dr. Brad and Ted Klons, who came up with some of the money disorders, they have one called compulsive spending, so overspending. And um, the thing is, like, on my research, it's not just like you're an overspender and that's the problem.
Mhm.
There's actually more. So it's like we peel layers and we peel layers and we peel layers and we get to the core belief of what's happening. So you want to look at the spending behavior, um, and try and notice patterns of when it's happening. So, for example, there is a financial disorder called financial enabling, which is essentially being codependent with your money, which translates into um, I'm going to put my air mask on last. I'm going to prioritize everyone else's comfort over my own. So if you actually have patterns of some of that with your spending is going to be like, I'm going to spend on this dress because I want to fit into wherever I'm going to.
Mhm.
I feel I'll be more accepted because I'm disconnected to myself. If I have this dress, I'll fit in, right? And that becomes survival. That is survival for you. So your brain is like, this is survival. Rent's not due right now. So today, to survive, this is what I have to do. So it's first of all trying to understand like why the spending's happening. Another example would be like the chase for the dopamine hit. So this is something that's new and exciting. I feel down, so I basically need like a neurochemical hit to give me a lift. And that's like, dopamine is about new and exciting. Dopamine is about more, more, more. Dopamine is the consumerism hormone, right? So um, so it's like, okay, I go buy this, it's new and exciting. So when we really bring a lot of awareness into the spending, we can start try and see like what's happening there, right? So do you see the difference? There's the dopamine spending, and then there's the spending because I'm like, I really want to fit in. Um, and then it becomes less about that single behavior, because you start to notice patterns in other areas. So for example, if I'm overspending to fit in, I'm probably also undercharging because I want to make everyone else comfortable,
Right.
right? If you're spending because of the dopamine hit, you're probably going to do it with other areas of your life, so maybe food, and
Correct.
just
And
looking.
like
Yeah.
all kind of whatever will make you feel like, oh,
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. And then another thing you said too, which I think is important, is I feel depressed and I need to do something to get me out of that depression. So right there, you've just acknowledged like I'm shopping because I feel depressed.
Mhm.
So that's a huge awareness. That's a huge awareness that a lot of people don't have.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like in the recovery world, we replace one thing with another. So we replace, like, if the drug is shopping, um, it's okay to want to do something to soothe your nervous system or to give you a little bit more energy. It's just, what can we do that doesn't have negative consequences?
Mhm.
So clearly in your example, there's negative consequences because you're spending the rent money.
Mhm.
So what can I do instead? And once we start learning more about other ways to get those, like maybe to create oxytocin or other like neurotransmitters and hormones that make us feel good, and not on the same consciousness of depression, we can essentially like hack the behavior, right? So that's what we talk about, being able to manipulate your hedonic pleasure, or not manipulate your hedonic pleasure, but like reclaim your hedonic pleasure.
Mhm.
Because a lot of the thing is, and we talk about this under the umbrella of societal trauma, a lot of our desires are not even really our desires. We're so deeply programmed by consumerism that our hedonic pleasure is actually the narrative and it belongs to someone else. So part of the trauma of money healing is like reclaiming. It's a reclaiming of what you value, a reclaiming of what gives you actual pleasure, moments of beauty. And Hiroko and I always say, like, hashtag sunsets over Prada, because we've been able to do this with this work where it's like I can go outside and look at a sunset, and if I deeply pay attention on a mindful way, I can notice I'm feeling as good as I feel if I buy a new handbag.
Mhm. Mhm.
And there was no negative consequences to that,
Yeah.
right? And we're actually doing something really cool for our nervous system too when we go look at sunsets or we go look at nature, is we're widening our lens. This panoramic view really calms the nervous system. So I talked
Right.
about this last night. Pardon?
Yeah, no, you're just getting a lot of bang for your buck with the sunset when the Prada bag is like very unilateral.
Yeah, narrowed. It's very narrowed. And the sunset, the panoramic view, and think of animals that have eyes on their head like this, each side. They have a panoramic view, and they're usually the chill animals, like the grazing animals, cows in the field, you know?
Yeah, lizard.
Um, yeah, exactly.
I have so much to say. Like as you're talking, I'm like, I gotta write notes. So I'm not gonna get too political. I am very political. So, but I'm gonna keep it, tight here. I feel like, people have been talking about this matriarchal shift that needs to happen in our world in order to heal the planet and heal ourselves. And I feel like this is grassroots that happening exactly because when you're talking about consumerism, and how we're deeply programmed, it makes me think, okay, that's very patriarchal, right? It's about marketing, economy, the New York Stock Exchange, all of this stuff, shares, and it's like killing the planet and, disrupting communities and indigenous communities and completely hijacking our frame of mind. I love what you're saying about reclaiming because at our very essence, when we look at what we've been doing on this planet for millions of years, it's being human. It's human connection, it's community, it's surviving by helping each other, right? It's not about Prada bags and the New York Stock Exchange and all of that shit. So this matriarchal kind of shift that I feel like, this grassroots movement is doing is so exciting. It's like, this is not just about reclaiming our relationship with money or repatterning. I feel like this is in itself, you know, this is obviously very a personal statement, but in itself, political change.
Totally. When you don't buy that dress because it's going to soothe you for depression, from depression, that's a liberation. That's a political liberation from consumerism.
So it's shifting from being like that mindset of, oh my God, I'm poor, I can't afford that dress, woe is me, I'm a loser, to I'm making an empowered decision for myself and in turn the planet that's going to
Yeah.
give me more. It's not taking anything away from me, it's actually giving me
Yeah.
more.
Yeah,
Whew,
exactly.
I just got
And the
chills.
thing is, too, is people who have, like, I've seen this often where they've grown up and they don't feel like there wasn't a lot of control in their environment as a child. And the spending is a form of control. I can buy whatever I want.
Right.
Like, that's a really interesting narrative, because when we compare it to the political liberation from, of not buying, from consumerism, because it's like they're thinking, like, all they're thinking in that narrative is like, I want to liberate from my family of origin and what I grew up with, and I'm going to buy whatever I want. So I experienced that growing up without a lot of money. And then when I had money, I'm like, I deserve this. I was in lack, so I deserve this. And still, like, I'm still like falling under another programming of consumerism in that behavior.
Mhm.
So yeah, so it is zooming out and like widening the view. And um, it goes back to what I was saying in the beginning, is that vision work and like really understanding what you value in life and making sure that your spending is aligned with what you value. Your spending, going back to the example you said of Mass and Kip's business partner, it's energy. Money is energy. So we use it, we direct that energy towards what we value,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? Just like we want to do with any energy.
Right. So I'm thinking, you know, I've signed up for your trauma of money method course. So I'm going to be, I guess it's like practitioner training, right? Where you can then
Mm-hmm.
train clients. And what I'm visualizing is, you know, being in this course and listening to you guys lecture and having the opportunity to reframe, right? It's all about reframing. So we kind of come downloaded with these negativity biases and these patterns that are, you know, they are what they are, they're there. But when we're
Mm-hmm.
healing from trauma, what I'm noticing in my journey of healing trauma is that it's really just about having these amazing people who've done the work to do the research to find new ways to introduce this information to our brain, to ourselves, so that we
Mm-hmm.
can reframe how we think about ourselves in those moments. So instead of being, I deserve it because I was in lack and I want to feel good. It's like, well, yeah, you do deserve to feel really good, but let's look at feeling really good in these ways as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to
Mm-hmm.
these ways. And
Yeah.
I just find that so magical because that is you're reprogramming the brain.
Yeah, totally. And the thing is, going back to that, like, I deserve to feel good.
Mm,
Um, Oftentimes when we're buying something new, it is chasing the dopamine, and the dopamine hormone it goes away once you get the thing. It doesn't give you the serotonin. It doesn't give you the endorphin, the oxytocin. The dopamine is like more, more, more.
mm,
Dopamine is about the chase. Dopamine is about something new and exciting,
mm,
right? So, it's like we're chasing this feeling that we get from dopamine, um, but we're doing it in the wrong way, because we buy the thing and then it's like the feeling's gone. Like, how many times have you bought something and it felt good and you bring it home and you're like, the novelty wears off. Dopamine is about
all the
novelty.
time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's about understanding, like, let's look at the other feel good hormones like serotonin, oxytocin. How can we accumulate that in our lives? And it's typically not from shopping or things like that. It's from, sometimes it is, sometimes it's from buying a soft blanket
Mm.
that, feels really good, or sometimes it's from creating a little corner that's beautiful in your home, and that's okay, you know but it's like the test is, do you enjoy it once you have it, and how long do you enjoy it for?
Right.
And that's something that I really focus on too, when I spend, is like, I really envision like this being in my home for a long time, and like, will I enjoy it for a while? And that's what I'm thinking about, less of like, what is this going to make me feel now?
Mhm. I think a lot of people that are watching might feel so disconnected from their ability to control their spending habits that they might
Mhm.
think, am I actually capable of creating that change? What would you say to that? People's abilities to
Yeah,
upgrade.
of course you are. Of course you are. Um, the first step in wanting to change, just like the 12-step program says, is admitting that there's an issue. it- you know so to say, I do overspend, I overspend, you're already on the path, you're on the path, and it's just like, how quickly do you want to move down that path of changing? And different approaches work for different people, but I truly believe that anyone can heal from their overspending addiction,
Yeah.
because if it has negative consequences, it's most likely on the in the addiction consciousness.
Right. Right. So that's what I love so much about your program, is that it is very science based. So you are looking
Hmm.
at, yes, there's the woo woo stuff that is like the meditation and the visualization and all of that beautiful stuff that really does create change in our neural pathways. It's changing the way that the brain behaves. I think that in itself is possibly helpful for people who might be doubting their ability to create effective change after taking your course, let's say, because whenever you expose the brain to new information, you can't unlearn it. It's there, right? So, like you said, depending on how quickly you want to move through it, it's like acquiring that knowledge and being open to allowing these shifts to happen is the software upgrade. Like we
Hmm.
come with a certain software that is like baseline, but we've been introduced to a lot of changes in the past 150 years. And
Hmm.
I feel like what you're doing is really giving people the opportunity to see the disconnect, what we have fallen into kind of effortlessly or subconsciously, and kind of wake up and go, no, you have a choice in these moments to create
Hmm.
a better life
Hmm.
for yourself, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and you have a choice every day. Every day you have a choice. So if you mess up yesterday, you have a choice today. You know what I mean? Um, and the meditation and some of the practices that we do teach in our program, we these spaces, the space of meditation, are our reset buttons.
Mm.
So with a reset button, you can redo over and over again. And it's like in the addiction world, which I reference so much because I really appreciate the 12-step program. I think it's really powerful. Um, it's one day at a time. It's one day at a time. And if we want to be in recovery from anything, it's the concepts are pretty simple, but it's a daily commitment. It is an absolutely daily commitment.
Just like anything, right? If you want to have a
Yeah.
great relationship with fitness and nutrition and
Yeah.
family, we learn and keep showing up over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. And that idea that, like, it's very I don't know, it's very like capitalist to think that if I do something, I will achieve, and my end result is here, and that's it, right? But that's not the way this world works. This world is about an integrative lifestyle that is about a constant state of refinement and understanding that healing is not linear.
Yeah. And that feels to me, and again, I don't want to make this about, sexes, but that feels very maternal. That feels nurturing. When we think about the space
Yeah.
that people heal and change from, it's from that place of self-compassion and nurturing, as opposed to 1 + 1 = 2. And if it doesn't, you're
Yeah.
fucked. It's like, no.
Yeah, exactly. And we have this saying in the trauma of money program, we say like #Tom moment,
Mm.
because and a Tom moment is where you have a trauma of money moment. And Hiroko and I share all the time about our Tom moments that happen all the time. And we know this work inside and out, but it's just a reminder that this stuff is a daily practice. But my recovery of my Tom moments are way faster because I have a toolbox that I go into and I access to help me recover. And one of our toolbox items is calling each other and saying, oh my gosh, I think I'm having a Tom moment, can you walk me through this? And then we walk each other through it and we laugh, and oh, it feels so much better now.
That's so rad.
I'm human, and we're all human. So that's one of the goals too with this program, is creating that space where we can openly share. And oftentimes we don't even need advice about what to do. We just need to like share it and where we are and be heard.
Yeah.
And it kind of releases some pressure.
Yeah, definitely. I am like jumping out of my skin excited. I can't wait to start this course.
Oh, good. Amazing.
So, what would people expect by taking your course? Like what's entailed? And you offer 2 different courses, one for the public and one for practitioners, yeah?
Yeah, so we have it's actually one course. It's a professional certification course. And we are an accredited course with the Canadian Association of Counselors and Psychotherapists. So anyone who works in the counseling field could get continuing education credits if they are licensed with them. Um, and we are a 12-week program, and we meet once a week for 3 hours at night on Wednesday nights. All of the lectures are recorded. So there's a portal that houses all the recordings, as well as the tools, the worksheets, and all that stuff. So you have access to that even after the program closes if you ever need to go back in. We did open spots for 5 people who want to attend, who don't want to be facilitators.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll attend the main program. They're just not required to submit any homework, or they're not required to, to submit the things to graduate. So that's really the difference, because the thing is a lot of the training, the facilitator training, is really about using the method on ourselves and going through it ourselves. So you could attend as like a public student and still get a ton of value from it. You just wouldn't be required to do any of the homework or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. So you run these cohorts seasonally? Do you do it 4 times a year?
So I'm gonna say 3 times a year, depending on how we feel. So Hiro and I are big believers on running our business in a way that is in alignment with where we are at. So, if we feel tired or we need some more space, we create more space. So it's kind of a different way of doing business, and it works really well for us. But I would say it's 3 times a year. 3 times a year is what we're going to do, because the programs are 12 weeks long. So we really like to give ourselves some space in between. Yeah.
So we're recording this September 16th, I believe. And, this is going to be up on my YouTube channel and IGTV and everything. So if people are looking at this at a different time than right now, know that they can reach out to you where to find out about the next cohort.
So info@thetraumaofmoney.com.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And what
So
else? What?
that's our email, and our website is www.thetraumaofmoney.com.
Mhm.
We are starting our fall cohort on September 23rd. If we have any more spots left, we will allow students to join a week late.
Mhm.
So if we have a few spots, because right now I think we have 4 spots left. So
Okay, cool. Okay.
yeah.
And any other channels that people can find you on to keep learning from you? And
Yeah, just in Instagram, at Trauma of Money on Instagram.
awesome. Awesome. I just want to thank you so much for your time. You're absolutely lovely.
Oh,
And
thank you. So are you.
thank you. Thank you for doing all of this research and such soul work for us. I'm beyond eager to start. So
Yeah, and I'm also so eager to talk to you again in the future, because I think the next layer of our research that we want to incorporate into the program, probably sometime next year, is the gut brain connection to trauma and money,
yeah.
which I think is so fascinating. And we actually had someone last night ask about that, and I was thinking about you.
Ah,
Because yeah, because I know in the addiction field they're really starting to research that. I think Maston Kip talks about it.
big time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking the same thing for my future cohorts for the Control Alt Delete program. Is I mentioned you in my recent group. I mentioned the trauma of money and described what you guys do and a little bit about the science, and gave people the opportunity to reach out and hopefully sign up for this cohort. And they were salivating. They wanted more. So I was like, maybe
Wow.
we could do a guest spot or like have you come in for a future cohort
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
just keep spreading the goodness.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Love it.
I love it
Thank you so
too.
much.
Oh, thank you so, so much. And I'll see you soon. I'll see you in class.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Okay,
Bye,
bye.
Chantel. See you.